Hello, everyone, and welcome to our second session of Hearts of Wulin. So last time we did character creation, right? A simple, I don't want to say simple, it's not simple in a bad way, but it's straightforward. As Hearts of Wulin is, whew, that character creation can take a while because of all those delicious entanglements and such. So, but today we're really going to get into it. We're going to start a story today. And before we do that, I'd like to do introductions, of course. So I'll start with myself. My name is Jamie, they, them pronouns, please. And let's see. Yeah, I'm really excited about Hearts of Wulin. It was, I'm just really excited for any PPTA game that encourages players to make up as much as they want. But like Daryl, I'm really excited for the Utena playset. Give it to us. Give it to us. Anyway, until then, we'll play Supernatural, which is also really, really rad, but in a different way. It's still not Utena, but it's okay. It's okay. I can manage. Okay, and then so let's go. Let's introduce our players and our characters. We'll go in character keeper order. So let's start with Daryl. So go ahead and introduce yourself and your character, please.
Hello, hello. I'm Daryl. My pronouns are he, him. You can find me all over the internet at Daryl Ross. I'm working on a game right now that is a solo journaling game inspired by Kiki's delivery service and Witch Hat Atelier. I promise that I'll have something by the end of the month. I've said it out loud and therefore I must do it now. Today, I will be playing 10 Tempests, who uses they, them pronouns. 10 Tempests is the student / exorcist of this game and a member of the Silver Choir of 7. Their look is that they have beautiful narrow features, white hair, and tattoos across their entire body, and then white robes worn loosely and open. Their story is that as a child, they were spirited away to hell, where they spent their entire childhood and adolescence. They have only recently returned and they make a living exorcising demons, which is how they survived hell. They're unfamiliar with the rules of this world, but they are attempting to learn. Some things are, I have entanglements with my family, who includes Jin, who is a cousin of mine, and my auntie is definitely trying to make sure that we're all one big happy family, and it's failing miserably, but we'll see what happens. I also have a twin brother who is in love with Jin, and I am personally very invested in Exalted Breath of the Horizon, but I secretly destroyed them and their lover in a past life, and now there's all sorts of awkward feelings about that.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, one of my favorite things to do is when I'm working in a game is to set a play test on the gauntlet like a month or 2 months ahead, and I have to. Oh, but it's a solo game, right? Anyway, it's still good. It's still going to be good. I'm so excited. All right, and next, Maria, tell us about Horizon.
Yes, so I am Maria. I use she, her pronouns. I don't have anything as exciting as Daryl, but I'm very much looking forward to playing a Kiki's delivery service game one day. Anyway, I will be playing Exalted Breath of the Horizon, who uses he, him pronouns, and who goes by Horizon for short. He is a general / commander in the Army of the Stone Hearts, which is overall commanded by his father, the 10,000th Marshal of the Horizon. And it's sort of a family affair because he has other siblings that are in charge of other militias, and it turns out that Horizon is not the favored sibling, which we'll find out maybe what that's like. So his look is that he has sallow, gaunt features, burning eyes, kind of looks like he probably doesn't sleep as much as he should, which we can probably all understand what that's like. He has martial dress, wears a lot of red and blue and gold, kind of like sunsetty colors, and long dark hair. And so he's in charge of this army or this particular militia, but they haven't been, and their basic main duty is to fight supernatural forces and try and keep the worlds from merging too much, but his particular militia hasn't been the most victorious, and so he's trying to find ways to make amends, and figure out how to fight the supernatural as best as he can, and just trying his best to deal with he's got these military duties, but he also has these entanglements. He has to deal with, he is in love with Stone of the Heavens, but other people / Jin continually brings up how his family caused Stone's family sorrow and loss. And yeah, it's not the best family to be a part of. They're all they have agendas. And Horizon on it probably has his own agenda, but I don't really know what that is yet. Anyway, that's Horizon.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. We're only the second character in, and the entanglements already like, whoo. Okay. I love this game. All right. And last but not least for today, we have Joel who's playing Jin. So Joel, tell us about Jin.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Joel. I use he, him pronouns. I'm playing Jin, who uses she, her pronouns. She is the outsider / cursed of the group. She's a member of the Bottled Spirits faction, which is like a support group for the supernatural to just try and help everyone, reconcile and get along, which I'm sure will go just fine in this game. Her look is unflinching gaze, pallid skin, and dark and stealthy clothes. So she's the little resident edgelord. And her story is still kind of being written, but her entanglements are that she fled from Chao because of her curse. But whenever she sees them with Sunset Chen now, her heart just aches, which is just oh too bad. And she suspects that Ten Tempest knows more about the curse than they're letting on, but accusing them would affect Harmonious Ivory Machen, their auntie. So she can't do that. And yeah, I'm looking forward to going to her ghost villa and kind of seeing what happens.
Absolutely. Very cool. All right. So, yeah. So I think there's like a lot to play with. So before we really get into it, also please feel like to tell me like as we're playing if you want to bring in a character or an entanglement or an element of the story. Just feel free to bring that in. Though I also want to point out, I really like the study move in this game. So I'm just going to go over it real quick. So it's in our basic moves tab, study. So when you study something in order to change the game state, so that's such an interesting way of putting it. Roll. So on a hit, you gain basic information. On a 10 plus, you also get 2 hold. On a 7 to 9, you gain 1 hold. So spend this 1 for the following. So you can either ask a question about a situation or place, such as escape routes, hidden details, threats, dangers, or you can ask a question about a person, such as what is their motivation, what are their desires, intentions, how can you manipulate them. You can learn a person's scale. I'll get into that in a bit, what that means. And this one's really cool, reveal a detail. So declare something which changes or adds to the established fiction significantly. So you can do that anytime you roll a hit with study, basically. So if you say, oh, we meet this person, oh, they're actually part of this faction, or they're this, or they owe my family, so and so, you can always introduce that. But yeah, and in terms of scale, I would just very briefly say combat is very straightforward. It's really just one roll. And the idea is if they are of a higher scale than you, you just can't defeat them. When you fight them, it's just about if you can control how well you lose, basically. So if you get a say on how it happens. Yeah, because in Wuxia, it's some people are just undefeatable until you learn how to defeat them, basically. Okay, so, but we'll get into that into more detail. We'll see if fighting comes up today. And yeah, so before we get into it, I'd really like to have like each character show us a vignette of what they're doing, or a peek into what their life is like. I'll give everyone a minute to think about it, right? So that we don't just, but if someone has an idea, just let me know. But I'll give everyone a minute to think about it first. Oh yeah, I should also. I'm gonna show our amazing NPC tab, which is like a lot of people already. We haven't even put in everybody yet, but in case you want to pull in an NPC for your scene, that's also something we can do. Okay, so Horizon, do you have an idea for a scene? Like maybe with your dad, who looks really intimidating in this picture,
Yeah,
or maybe someone else in the family or something else.
I was actually imagining that Horizon was going through letters and like because does have command of this part of an army. And as far as what I remember is he has a sibling that's gone missing, and or like that army was destroyed, and he has a sister that he thinks is going rogue. So thinking that if there was a scene between Horizon and his father, it might be about the sister that is not currently there that has gone rogue, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Or the missing other sibling.
Yeah. So your sister's name is Crane of the Woods,
Yes.
right? I see. I see. Yeah, we can say. Ooh, yeah, I like that idea. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We can play out that scene. So, uh, where is your? I guess like you have a planning room. Do you have like a special room at the palace, or because I'm kind of thinking that your family's kind of like all that, right? If you have this huge army of factions and you protect the land, I think it's like a pretty fancy place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I have a planning patio. Like I imagine like there's like I have my chambers, and then maybe there's like an offshoot of it that has doors that open into the outside that faces where the horizon, that faces the horizon, because that's what our family does.
I like it. I like it. Very cool. So, my first question for you about this place is, who used to own this room or this place, and why was it given to you instead?
The person that used to own this room was probably my father.
Ooh.
I think it's like a weird hierarchical or generational thing, like the eldest child takes this room.
Ooh, that's cool. Even though you're not technically the favorite, but you are the one with the most expectations on. Yeah. Ooh, that sounds familiar. So that's like a story of so many people. But yeah, so and I think because of that, there are all these subtle things about your father's exploits that are here in the room. I think that your dad's a type where he doesn't put a lot of stock in these like trophies or these things, and they were left here, but they're always reminding you of the kind of thing you have to live up to. So there's this huge oversized weapon from a general that he defeated that's just pushed over there in the corner somewhere. There are all these other beautiful tapestries in the background, but you're out here in the patio. You can see the horizon clearly. It's early morning. There's a chill in the air. The sky is this beautiful streaks of color as the sun starts to rise. And your father shows up. You never hear him. He moves so quietly, despite, let's admit it, a huge amount of stuff he's wearing. It's like, even when he's not leading an army, it's a ridiculously huge getup. But he moves very quietly. But there's this always sense of presence. You always know when he's nearby. And he stands off to the side and he waits for you to notice him. He waits for you to say the first thing. But you can see his face is very stern and he looks very concerned. What do you do?
I look up from like the letter I've been reading, and I like notice him and I say, "Father?"
Horizon, things have been Well, you know what I've come here to speak of. Your sister, Crane, has been missing for too long. She has been in search of your other sibling, and I am not too happy of how she is handling things on her end. We both know that she is truly the gifted one, and he says this really simply, like just cuttingly, without thinking about it. But even then, we may need to rein her in. You've always been the more cautious one, dependable one. If you could do this for me and seek out your sister and see what she's up to.
I was intending to. This report I've had says, well, it sounds like there have been more deaths than usual, which is usually a good sign that Crane has been around.
Your sister has her methods. Sometimes you have to be a little harsh in these things. Horizon, I worry about how much you try to save everyone. Remember, this is war. We cannot afford to think that way.
This is war against the supernatural forces and not necessarily against our own people.
But would you take away from them the glory of sacrifice and duty? Should we ask less of those who trust in us?
Well, the way we've been going around things, they haven't really had a choice. Perhaps we should present them with a choice.
And then you see his face like take on a darker cast. I will pretend I did not hear you say that, my dear son. Instead, promise me you will do as I asked.
I would appear to have no choice either.
And he pointedly ignores that and simply starts walking out. Are you going to say something or let him go?
I guess yeah, I'll call out and say, do you want her back by her own will, or do you want me to force her back?
And he doesn't turn around. He just stops with his back turned to you and he says, my dear son, I think if you had to force her, it would be impossible. Instead, I will have to depend on your other gifts, since we cannot rely on your combat skill. So please convince her to come home.
I think Horizon like smiles a sort of twisted smile, like, thanks for that sort of not compliment, and like bows.
Okay, so I think we're not quite at inner conflict, but Dad pushed a bit hard towards it, I'll admit. But I don't think we quite hit it, unless you feel like it's been hit.
I'm not sure how inner conflict works in this game.
Sure. Good point.
Slash where it is.
Yeah. Let me bring it up. So it's in our basic moves tab.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it's called inner conflict when you come face to face with emotional turmoil and pressure from an entanglement or a personal issue. Mark XP. So the more often you inner conflict, the more XP you have.
Mm-hmm.
So you mark XP and you can roll anything except your style element, right? So on a 10 plus, you manage to keep yourself together. On a 7 to 9, you must flee the scene or mark an element. You don't have to like physically flee the scene, but it's kind of like, I'm out. Like, I'm not going to push my agenda anymore or anything like that. On a miss, the GM makes things much worse. So I feel like you haven't quite hit it just yet. But your dad was just setting it up and pushing you to
Yeah, I don't think I hit it yet either.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. All right. So and so that's our scene for Horizon. Like, ooh, Dad. Okay. how about Tenten or Jin? Like, do you have an idea for a scene for your character?
I had an idea for Jin, yeah.
Sure.
I was kind of imagining like her walking with Pale Cricket, the young orphan that she is taking care of, kind of while they're at market getting like nice things, maybe like nice loaves of bread. And she sees like Chow in the distance as she like wrestles with herself of whether she should go talk to her or not.
Ooh. Okay. Talk to who? Sorry, I missed that for a bit.
Chow, the one that she
Ooh.
fled because of her curse.
Yeah. Okay, so you're out in the market, right? And you're with Pale Cricket. And so you see Chow over there. What is she doing? Like, I'm really imagining this like super cinematic, like as the camera pans, what do we see of Chow?
Yeah, to kind of like amp up the like cinematic quality. Maybe she is like buying flowers as like flower petals are like fluttering by her, and she's kind of trying to pick like a nice bouquet to bring back to Sunset Chen.
Yeah, I like this. Yeah, and it's a kind of thing where you can tell the flower vendor she's talking to is so charmed by her, and everyone is, it's one of those things where as the camera pans, people are staring and trying not to stare at her. There's such a gentle beauty about her, and it's really less about what she looks like and more about her demeanor, right? There's just this gentle energy and aura that she exudes. And Pale Cricket is next to you. What does Pale Cricket look like?
I don't think I've assigned an NPC picture to them yet. Just kind of, very small for their age. Like they're probably 12, 13, but look a couple years younger. Pale skin, kind of still wanting to be playful. So they're kind of like looking around, looking at other kids playing, just all excited.
Right, and so I think as you're looking at how Pale Cricket gets a little too far ahead, and actually crashes into Chow, and just goes, "Oh my gosh, lady, watch where you're going!" He shouts at the woman who was just trying to buy flowers. What do you do?
Um, Jin'll kind of, in like a very calm, awkwardly like restrained voice, just say like, Cricket, that was an impolite thing to do. You should apologize now.
But no, I mean, she was in the way. She's so clumsy and stupid.
And at that, like, Jin puts her hand on Cricket's shoulder and like doesn't in her face like show it, but Cricket probably shows like she squeezes a little too hard. She's like, that's an impolite thing to say to someone, who was nothing but kind to you.
And go ahead.
Oh, and she'll just kind of like give her a little, or give Pale Cricket a little tug back with her arm to like withdraw her from the situation.
Right. And so Chow recovers. It was just, a slight bump. And Chow turns, and it's one of those like slow motion moments where she turns to look at you. And there's this, I love this in wuxia films and stuff. There's like this overly long look at that face of recognition when she sees you, and you see this blush light up her face, and she says, "Oh, Jin, I'm so sorry. No, this was my fault. Is the little one okay?" And Pale Cricket like hides behind you and sticks out his thumb at her.
Yeah, and Jin's like, not necessarily like he doesn't matter, but like, no, it was, you know, obviously his fault. You could never, you know, do something so brash or rude. And she'll kind of give a little scathing look over her shoulder at Cricket. Um, you know, I hope you're doing well. Those flowers are lovely that you've pulled together.
Oh, yes. And she looks down at the flowers and she says, "Here, Jin, for you." So I have to ask Jin, what was a moment that the two of you shared where flowers figured prominently in the past?
Um, I think kind of before Jin was cursed and when she was more carefree, they would go on, you know, they'd go for walks, and one of the moments was them kind of running through a field with wildflowers growing and just kind of like feeling, you know, the wind through her hair with Chow, and like running her hands through like the fields of flowers and like grabbing handfuls and making kind of bundles of wildflowers with her.
And as that memory comes in and leaves, you can see that Chow is obviously thinking about that moment. And she smiles and she says, "Jin, it's been a while. I hope you're doing well."
Oh, of course, I'm great. I'm, you know, couldn't couldn't be better. I hope you're doing well as well. You obviously, you know, look like you're doing well.
And at this point, that's when you realize, like, down in her hand, she has an engagement ring on it. And you realize she's been trying to hide it from you. And she says, "Yes, things have changed since we last spoke regularly. I hope we can see each other soon and catch up, maybe."
Yes, that would be wonderful. We should catch up with for some tea. What what's changed?
Oh, well, and she starts to blush furiously. Uh, and then at this point, the flower vendor, you realize the flower vendor has been watching the two of you really closely, like this old woman with large eyes. And she whispers at you, "She's getting married," in this like low voice, "to the handsome one, Sunset Chen. He's a real catch."
And I think at that, like I mean, it's probably not it, but I just imagine like a French baguette bread that she's holding. Like she just kind of squeezes it a little too tight, but tries and like hides it. And she's like, "Oh yes, Sunset Chen is so handsome. Uh, that is wonderful for you, Chow. I couldn't be happier for the both of you." And like trying her best just to restrain herself.
Ooh, this does sound like an inner turmoil moment, but what do you think? I'll let you call it.
I think, yeah, at some point, either like now or kind of as Chow walks away, there's definitely going to be some inner conflict.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm more than happy to roll now.
Sure, just to see how well you can keep it up in front of her, understandably. Okay, so just go to the dice room. It's 2d6. Any elements, as long as it's not your style element, and you can choose based on like how you're feeling. Like, let me just take a look. Your element is metal, so for example, if you feel like you're just trying to remain focused like the earth, or trying to remain steady, if you feel like you're trying to rise above it and be more flexible and wise about the situation, then that's water, like depending on how you want to flavor how you're trying to keep it together.
Okay. I kind of imagine it as like more focused, kind of like the earth and like presence, and just trying to be focused on the moment. So she probably like crushed the baguette, and then she's just kind of feeling that like smushed bread in her hand, and is pretty much using it as a stress ball in her hand, and she's just trying to like be there with it. Oh god, that's bad. So I got a 4 with the +2 from Earth for 6.
Okay, so first off, you already get to mark XP just from doing it. So you get to mark 2 XP
Yay.
with the bit. So yeah, it's not bad. Okay, so on Miss, let's see. Ooh, the jam makes things much worse. What the heck? Yeah. I think the way that this is going to look is suddenly, because this is like a marketplace, right? In the distance, pretty close by, we see that there is a merchant that was selling horses. And something spooks the horses, and then there's this close up of the horses neighing, and people are panicking, and it's slow motion as Chow turns around to see what's happening, and the horses are rushing towards the two of you, and you can see that the horses are going to hit either Pale Cricket or Chow, right? So what do you do?
Oh no. Um, is there any way that she's able to kind of get both of them behind her and take the brunt of it?
Ooh, I'd say that definitely sounds like um, an overcome move. Wait, let me just double check. I'm just like looking at what we have, but that sounds like, yes, that sounds like overcome. I'd say yes, you can definitely do it, but I think the question is, if you want to look like you save both of them at the same time, it's going to be a little more difficult. But if you want to communicate who you clearly care about a little more in this situation. So if you try to do it to save both of them at the same time, you'll have to roll with a disadvantage. So it's 3 dice and then take the 2 lowest ones. But if you're going to put your heart out on your sleeve a bit and show clearly who you're going to, who's a bit of a more of a priority, then you just roll as normal. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah, it does. I think in this situation, I'll do it normal, and she's kind of like tries to help Chow, but kind of just finding out that she's engaged and everything going on, she's a little scorned, and her, responsibility is to Pale Cricket, who obviously isn't paying attention right now. They just want to go have fun. So she's like putting herself in his way.
Okay, I like that a lot. That's really great. Okay, so you can choose any element you like. I'll note that we didn't mark your element, so I thought it was a bit too early, too intense to have to mark over something like that. So you can still use the same element or any other, even your style element, if you like.
Okay. I think here, I mean, it's also a good element, but metal kind of makes sense for the control and calculation. She kind of sees the horses coming and realizes like she can only save one. So she like pushes Pale Cricket out of the way. And I got 2 1s, so that's a 4.
No, okay, so mark XP again. Oh my gosh, do we need to burn the dice through? Okay, so we'll see. So anyway, but you have the XP. So there's that at least. Oh gosh. You know what? I'm going to say what happens is there's this flurry of fabric and petals all over the place, and you recognize Sunset Chen is suddenly there and has stopped everybody in front of the horses, and he's standing there tall and brave and strong and handsome. And so while and I'm going to say, like, as you're trying to push Pale Cricket out of the way, he somehow made it look like he was the one saving Pale Cricket to everybody else. And so as he's able to calm down the horses, everybody is like, oh, Sunset Chen, you're truly our hero. Thank you so much. And I want to ask you, Jin, why is Sunset Chen so beloved by everyone? Like, what is it about him or his past or his reputation where he is so dearly loved?
He is so beloved. I mean, aside from the obvious, let's see, he's a member of one of the groups that we had established. I think the Golden Daylight Temple. And he's kind of a very, like, I don't know, I'm thinking in like customer service terms. He's like a very front-facing member of that organization who does a
Right,
lot of the like
the
charity
public
work and
face
stuff.
and stuff, yeah.
Yep. And so like everyone attributes all the like glorious things that they may or may not do with Sunset Chen.
Absolutely, I really like this. And then so as that starts to set in, Sunset Chen very graciously tells everyone that it's okay, everyone can calm down, and he walks towards Chow and places a hand against her cheek and says, "My love, are you all right? I'm so sorry I wasn't here to protect you. This was completely my failing." And Chow looks a little, yeah, she looks a little shocked, and there's this telltale flicker of her eyes towards you for a moment before she looks back at Sunset Chen and says, "Oh no, I'm all right. Thank you so much." And you can tell that you can tell Chow is actually trying to protect you. She's trying to make sure that Sunset Chen doesn't see you or doesn't notice that you're there. Do you take this moment to like make your escape and retreat away with Pale Cricket, or are you going to do something else?
I think she would. She's kind of like, she's lost and she knows it. Like, I imagine as the horse is like startled and stuff, like her hair got all messed up, dirt probably flew on her face. Like, she is in no position to have like a heart-winning face-off with him.
I like that. So as you move away, Pale Cricket turns to you. You could have totally beaten him up if you just went full ghosty on him. You know, just wow, just.
She'll think, now, Cricket. While, you know, I may have, and she knows she wouldn't have, there is an important lesson in restraint for people like us. We can't always do what we want with our abilities or get what we want with our abilities. And she kind of like gives a longing look behind her and then just kind of sighs and keeps walking forward.
And I think the last thing we're going to see is when Jin is walking away, that's when Shao turns around just to see if you're okay. And yeah, okay, so we're going to now cut. I really like that scene though. So we're going to cut to Tenten, which, yeah, so what is Tenten up to?
So before we get into that, I have a start of session roll move. So
that's right. Nice.
So face to fate at start of session, roll 2d6 without an element. So let's do that. It's a 6. On a 6-, mark XP, and the GM takes a soft move from fate for later use.
Oh my gosh. Okay, mark XP. I'm going to take note. Everybody giving me gifts today. I'm such a happy GM. So. Okay.
Yeah, so for as like, you know, close and familial, and then as like romantic and like pastoral as those previous scenes were, I think that this one has a very ominous air. And what it is it's the sun has set, and we are at the what's it called again? We're at the palace of the Golden Daylight Temple, and it's me and my twin brother Sunrise Lynn, and also 2 other exorcists who have all been called in because the Golden Daylight Temple has an exorcism job that they want us to do, and they don't really care who does it as long as it gets done. So the way that I think exorcism works in this country is that people who are exorcists are like regularly hired. They like offer their services like any other like tradesman might. And so I have, in addition to this, the Silver Choir of Seven being like a loose association, they're also my business rivals.
I love it. So good.
So, and I did make up two rival exorcists in there. If you'd like to play as either of them, there's
Ooh.
Sparrow Glory Song, who is a society darling, you know, a little bit of a celebrity exorcist, and then Wilting Poppy is the one that no one likes to admit that they hired, but he's extremely thorough with his job, terrifyingly so.
I like these two. Very cool. I'm really getting strong Demon Slayer vibes in the best way possible. But yeah. Okay. So the three of you, oh no, four of you. The four of you are there. And you're about to, who is it that hands out the work or gives assignments?
So I was actually thinking that it was like an exorcism that had to take place at the Golden Daylight Temple. And so if it
Nice.
was Sunset Chen who was maybe, you know, giving that order or something, just so we can further knot all of us together.
Yeah, I like that. I was actually thinking of Sunset Chen, so that makes sense. Yeah, so I'll say what it looks like, and feel free to give any other details because this is your area. I'd say that there's sort of like a receiving room before the actual room where the exorcisms take place. And the exorcisms take place in this natural spring that the temple was built around. And so from the outside, from the waiting room, you can hear water splashing and you can hear these like low rumbling noises that barely sound human. And Sunset Chen has, it looks different from how we saw him in the scene earlier. Like now he's very serious, very somber, and he turns to the rest of you, and he has a scar on his face that we didn't see earlier in the sunlight in the marketplace. But here, as the sun starts to set, the scar starts showing a little more clearly for some reason. And he turns to you and he says, "We have a very delicate situation on our hands. This exorcism needs to go well," he says very carefully. "This would be very important for the temple if what you see in the next room stays confidential," he says. And he says, I'll leave it to the four of you, whoever can perform the exorcism the quickest, but the most in the most clean fashion, will of course take the prize. And he looks at each of you, and I have to ask, who does his gaze linger on for a moment?
Sparrow Glory Song, because she's just absolutely beautiful. You know, this like pale moon silver hair, these dainty, delicate figure. You would never like assume that she would like grapple with death the way that she does, but she's very effective at it, and it's caused quite a like everyone in the municipality just has a like a starstruck look in their eyes for her.
And I'd like to add to that. I'll say that our society darling, because Sunset Chen is quite the catch, I'm going to say. So you know that Spiral Glory Song has been trying her best to nab him as much as possible. When it's brought up in conversation, she says, well, it's only an engagement. Engagements can change. And even then, who knows? So she smiles at Sunset Chen and speaks very demurely and says, "Do not worry, Master Chen. I will take care of this for you and bring further glory upon our temple," she says with a shining, like, it's almost like I'm getting like YouTube streamer kind of vibes from her. Like, just really like, she's very good at exuding that charisma and persona, right? Meanwhile, Wilting Poppy it just sort of suddenly appears, like just all like bent limbs that just keep moving and his neck is moving in this really strange way. And he says, now, my dear Sparrow Glory Song, do not speak so quickly. If it wasn't for the rest of us, at the last exorcism, you would have lost your soul. Not that we would have noticed much of a difference, he says. And Sparrow pointedly, very, very pointedly, ignores him as she snaps her fingers. And there's this like huge, it's kind of like those dice bag situations, like those really big things. But when it opens up, it's all these like different exorcism tools. She's a very flashy, very dedicated type that show up. And she looks to you and she says, Tenten, you wouldn't mind just letting me have this one, would you?
And that's when I pull out my twin meteor hammers and just like give her like this look of disdain and like start swinging them so that they whistle because they have this like hollow thing that gives them that like echoing bell sound from my style, and like immediately just start running like towards the chamber. Like don't even give her the time of day.
And she sighs, it was worth a shot, I suppose. It's the same all the time. Yeah, so I think this is a good time. I'm going to look at our moves because we have, I was telling Joel earlier, I had just discovered this extra set of moves and the other moves for Use Found Magic, Faces Supernatural, Uncover Bane, Seek Expert, really cool stuff. That's just for the Supernatural playset. Which one do you think this covers? Face the Supernatural or Uncover Bane? Unless you have something else in mind. I will read out both. So Face the Supernatural, when you face a supernatural manifestation alongside the unready, alongside the unready. No, I don't think so because you're all like badass exorcists, right? So like this is not the first time. Let's look at the other one, Uncover Bane. When you seek out a Bane by study, practice, or consultation, you discover a Bane. It doesn't claim another victim. In the meantime, if we feel like this, if we establish that this could like spread to other people, that could be a thing. Or it could just be an overcome roll. So let me know which one is like calling out to you.
I'm down for it being an Uncover Bane roll. I like the idea that like possession is not like I got possessed by a single ghost. It's like the multitude of ghosts, and it can become like infectious and spread or something like that. Like very like parasitic. So
Oh, so cool. Yeah. I really like that truth. Yeah, okay, so let's go ahead. So let me know which elements you want to roll with, and we'll go ahead and see how it goes.
So I'm gonna roll with fire because creativity, speed, and passion. I definitely just leapt into danger heedlessly. So there's that tempestuousness of my personality at work. It's a 4.
Oh my gosh, we have to burn the dice from everybody. Okay, I'll make a new one over the break. It's like we haven't had a single good roll yet, right? Oh my gosh,
Nope.
I'm looking at I'm gonna just show it on the screen so people watching can see how bad this is. It's so bad. It's really, yeah, we're gonna burn it. Okay, we're going to exercise the room. So I think what happens, so first off, mark XP. At least we're doling out the XP here.
Jenny?
Oh yeah.
Can I just interrupt? Like, and it's okay with me, but we do have a line on pandemic. So I don't know if this is like getting close to that, but just in case, we should see if it is.
That is a very good point. Thank you for bringing that up. How do we feel about it? Because we can script change anything.
I was the one who actually put that line in there.
Like if this is different enough, then, or whatever.
Like as long as it's not like Yeah, no, I can't see any way of quibbling with it. I would prefer not. Like, I don't want it to, like, it's fun for now, but then, like, eventually it'll be like, oh, it's overtaking the whole city, and then we'd get a little too close. So, one soul, one body.
Yeah, yeah. Makes sense, makes sense. No worries.
Thank you for pointing that out.
I was just like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Very good, very good. Thank you for helping us check in. That's fantastic. Yeah, so we'll script change that a little bit. No worries. All right, so to establish what happens, so as you crash through, well, you know, I mean, the door, I think it's one of those cool things where the doors just like open up in front of you, right? And then you like come in, hair streaming, robe streaming, the sound of the bell following you. And I think rather than you just like plain failing the exorcism, I'm gonna look, ooh, despite your belief in it, the bane fails or it succeeds, but there's a horrific cost. Whoa, that is like such a way of writing that miss. Like Loa did not like hold back in writing that move. I'll ask you, what normally will make an exorcism go well? Like, what does it normally look like when 1010 pulls it off without a hitch?
So usually what it would look like is that you bind up the host, like the victim of the possession, and then you through force of will, like force the demon out of that person's body. And so we're just going to say supernatural style. So like, you know, black mist flows out of their mouths and returns to hell. And that's how it usually goes.
Ooh, I like that. Okay, so it starts following that. So, like, is it one of those things where these prayer papers show up out of nowhere? Like, we don't even see you putting them on, and they're just like binding the person. And it's going as it's supposed to. Like, the smoke is pouring out. You can see the other exorcists are like behind you, but they're just too slow compared to you. And so you get there first. But as the smoke starts to pour out, that's when you get a good look at who you're actually exercising. And I'm going to say that you recognize it's Stone of the Heavens that is in front of you. And you can see that as the exorcism, this is supposed to help him. It's supposed to just pour out of him easily. But instead, what's happening is he's bending over forwards, and the black ichor is starting to form these like huge wings behind his back, these like bat-like wings that are just bursting out of the skin. And he's like screeching, and you realize there's something about your magic that is actually resonating strongly with his. And I'm double checking. Oh, yes, because you killed him in a past life, right? Yeah, I'm going to say like then we get flashes of what was going on in that past life. And it's just too short for us to really make sense of it now, unless you want to jump in and say what they are, you know.
Well, that's one of my moves is eternal love when you remember a past life connection to someone.
Oh yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. So let's just cascade right into that move.
Watch, I get like another snake eyes or something.
Oh my gosh, I can make a new room if we need to really quick.
When you remember a past life connection to someone, describe it and take +1 forward in dealing with them. When you reveal that connection to them, roll. Okay, so basically, yeah, you know what? I think it's a little it's very close for comfort for this. Like he's tied up again, and except this time it's not an exorcism, it's a witch hunt, and so he's being burnt at the stake. And like you get like a super brief flash of like me, and you can tell it's me even though like I have normal hair, normal skin, and I look like basically my twin brother, but I am the magistrate who has ordered his death.
Yeah, and we can say everyone thought he was like a demon witch. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to add to it and say in this flashback, we see he has long white hair and there's like blood tears coming out from his eyes. And so it really does look like, for all intents and purposes, that you're doing the right thing. That he was a demon witch that needed to be destroyed. But then you only found out after the fact that he was just poisoned by the real demon. So he was made to look like one, and you had killed someone innocent. Does that make sense?
I mean, I like a little bit of ambiguity about whether or not I
Sure.
really did know.
Sure. Okay, let's keep it at that. So there's just that moment of doubt. We don't know for sure yet. Yeah. Okay, so that is happening, but you get to roll, right? Is that right?
So I
You
just
have a
take a
plus one
plus
forward.
one forward ongoing when I deal with them.
Nice.
Wait, no, just a plus one forward, not ongoing. When I'm dealing with them. So the next time I roll in this situation trying to deal with this, I can get a plus one forward.
Oh yeah, and then you get a few extra options.
Yeah, and then whenever I reveal that connection to them, that's when the extra stuff comes into play.
Really interesting. Okay, so I think I realize we just hit the top of the hour, so we can see how this unfolds right after the break. Right. So I'll give everyone a 10-minute break, and then we'll come back to this. All right. See you all. All right, so we're back from our break, and we took a break right as we were getting these glimpses into this past life going on between 1010 and Stone of the Heavens. So let's see what's going to happen. So I'm going to say, I'm going to say that you notice that Sparrow cuts in and says, thanks for softening him up for us, 1010. We'll take it from here. And there's this sin as she throws out her version of the prayer papers, and it's this really, I'm basing it off this really cute picture. Let me put it on the screen. That we have here. Sorry, that's the sound of coffee. I'm desperate enough to have coffee. Here. So this beautiful, bright blue color. I do like the parasol. That's so cute. So let's also put in the parasol. So I like the idea of her just floating in with the parasol, legs pulled up close, and then she just throws the papers with this really cute smile, but her eyes are sharp and calculating as they come in. And Wilting Poppy, I have this idea. Wilting Poppy just sort of breaks through the water, and their hair is pulled down, sort of like Sadako from The Ring. And Wilting Poppy is now, there's enough for all of us to get at least an equal share here. Well, at least between the two of us, since 1010's decided to slow down in his old age. In their old age, he says. So with that, I think you're going to have one more chance, 1010, to take control of the situation and beat them to the punch. What do you do?
Yeah, so I'm going to try to use my Exorcist move, which specifically, I'm a little desperate. So the way that I'm going to do it is I'm going to use my my meteor hammers to they're on these really long ropes, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to weave the ropes of the meteor hammers around a couple of pillars, and I'm going to try to open a portal to hell to suck the thing back in while it's coalescing outside of stone.
Nice. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so my exorcism move is when you create a barrier to expel or bar a supernatural spirit, roll. And so we're going to use...
I'm going to make a new room for you, just in case.
Yes, I would appreciate that.
Yeah.
Burn the old one. Burn it to the ground.
So I have created a room called Bless Us instead. Just gonna put that energy out there. Here you go. I put it in the chat.
Okay, let's try this. I'm rolling with metal because this is like a very calculated move that I'm trying to do. Oh, and that makes it a 12 actually, because I got a +1 from my past life. So yeah,
Bless us is
on
on
a
the right track.
on a 10 plus, you do so, forcing the spirit away for a time. You may ask one question about the spirit.
Oh, nice. Go ahead. Go ahead. What question would you like to ask? And then we'll see how it looks like.
So I think the question that I ask is one that I probably ask most spirits. It's like, how did you sneak into this world?
Yeah, that's a good one. And I think what you hear, because normally the answer is they give you like at least a clue, if not a clear sign of where the weakness was or what was going on. But in this case, you get this singular, strange voice that's all whispery and cracked that says, "No, we came because we were called. There are many of us here, and we are here to answer the call. She of the woods has called us, and we are here to answer." What do you do?
Uh, at that point, what I do is I pluck one of the strings like a harp, and like that, like it sets the meteor hammers tinkling. So it's the echoing bells that is the name of my style. And with that resonance, like a rift just opens up between them, and then the thing is like pulled off of stone and into the portal, and so it is banished for a time.
I like it. Yeah, and we sort of really see like it being pulled out, like the bodies are like frozen in midair for a moment before it's pulled in, and we see the other exorcists going like, "No, our money!" just like disappearing in front of their eyes. And I'll say like it was like you really, because you did so well, you rolled so high, like there was no way they had any chance of like catching up at that moment. And then in very slow motion with the flurry of all this fabric, because there's like a lot of fabric going on wuxia stuff. They're just wearing a lot of clothes. With that, stone of the heaven starts to fall from the ceiling towards the water. Are you going to go catch him or let someone else do it?
Oh, of course I'm going to catch him, and it's going to be this like kind of thing where the ribbons from my bells come unraveled from the column, and then they create like almost like a web over the surface of the pond, and I stand in the center of it on like a single thread, and he just falls into my arms.
And when that happens, uh, we hear Sparrow say, "Show off," as you catch him perfectly. And with that, there's suddenly the sound of a gong ringing, just resounding all throughout. And the waters below start to shift and tremble in response as all the doors all around shutter open quite violently. And you can feel the demonic presence just completely evaporate, cleansing the room once again. And suddenly, Sansa Chen is in front of all of you, and once again, stone face, very different from when we saw him at the market. Says, "Congratulations, Tenten. You have undoubtedly, and with great grace and wisdom, been able to handle the situation quite well. You will receive full marks and, of course, full payment for your services." And the other two are like making horrible faces. What do you do?
I I walk across the tightrope of my strings, and I step down onto the basin, onto the dais, and I like lay stone at his feet, and like do the very demure thing, almost like a a courtesan or something like that, and I say, "It was a pleasure, my lord," in in an obvious way that looks like I've practiced it numerous times.
And with that, there's a small smile that comes from Sunset Chen, which makes Sparrow even more upset uh, as that happens. And he actually brushes his fingers against your shoulder as a sign of you did well. Um, and with that, we see that Stone of the Heavens actually starts coming too, which is not normal. It usually takes a while. I mean, they've been through a lot, right? For most people who go through this sort of thing. So for him to be able to wake up so quickly is a sign that something is up. And his eyes flutter open. And when again, it's that slow motion, overly glowy lighting going on. And he looks up at you. And so, like, what is your relationship like now in this life?
I think this is the first time I have like laid eyes on him in person. Like,
Ooh.
I think that I was aware that Stone of the Heavens was reincarnated into this life because I know that they have a relationship with Exalted Breath of the Horizon, but we haven't met yet. I mean, I'm not like a part of the upper echelons of society, so there was no reason we would run in the same circles.
Ooh, that makes a lot of sense. I like that. Yeah, and so when he opens his eyes, he looks at you like he's a little unfocused, and he asks, what happened? I was in the middle of tracking down, and then he realizes where he is, and he, uh, what am I? What is this place? Is this? And he looks around, obviously confused, and surprisingly, Sunset Shun has just completely disappeared. Like usually he's the face of these things, but for some reason you can tell he doesn't want. My gosh, these names I have to keep referring to. I love these names, but I have to keep referring to Stone of the Heavens. He doesn't want Stone of the Heavens to like see him there for some reason. But yeah, so what do you do? How do you respond? I guess the question is, do you get rid of him quickly, or do you let him like linger? Or...
Oh, I think that I definitely need to like get out of there because I'm coming dangerously close to my own inner turmoil moment. And so I think that I just, like I step away and then like, like a hand over the heart. I'm just like, you fell asleep for a time, my lord, but everything is fine now. And we shall be going so that you may rest. And I like look at the others because because we are still tradespeople basically, and Stone of the Heaven is much higher rank than we are, so it's time to go.
Oh, and I think this is a good moment for Sparrow to forget her place. And she steps forward and she says, "My lord, I would be more than happy to escort you back to your private chambers to assist you. You need your rest after such a time." Are you going to let her get away with it, or?
No, that minx has machinations on every man in the capital.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. She wants power, glory, all of it.
Yes. Is there a move for that? Oh, yeah. Hearts and Minds. When you pressure someone susceptible
Yes.
to your words.
Yes.
Let's
call.
see.
Good call. Mm-hmm. She's definitely susceptible because you really just showed her up. So.
Yeah. So what's my mood here? It's got to be one of my 0 traits. It's probably like Earth, which for caution. So it's a flat roll, which makes it a 5. Oh God.
Okay, so mark your XP. Yes, so many. Okay, everyone's gonna level up by the end of the session. When Gabriel joins us next session, we have all leveled up. So, yeah. Okay, so on a miss, I'm just checking in case there's something. Okay, there's no miss here. When you, actually, I think what happens is as you speak up to say something, you realize that that Stone of the Heavens is looking right at you, like as if he's seen a ghost, and you can tell he's not as sensitive as you are about this whole past life thing, but there's something, right? Like he's sort of like, are you familiar? Like he's just completely seeing past Sparrow, and he's looking right at you. So we're getting much closer to our inner turmoil moment. And so I'm going to say that it's very obvious to you that in order to distract him, you're going to have to let Sparrow do as she wishes. But so the question is, do you let her, or are you going to risk him, finding out more?
You know what? I don't know why I stopped her in the first place, considering that if she gets her hooks into him, then that just frees up horizons. So, you know what? I think that I'm going to protect my past indiscretions, and I'm going to try to clear the path for my affections. So, yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. Just it's time for me to take my leave.
As that happens, you see Sparrow turn to you, and she smiles, nods her head, and thanks. Um, the way she does it, it's so smug. You can kind of tell that she's saying, "Don't worry, we're going to invite you to the wedding," like that kind of energy. It's very awful. And the two of them leave, and Stone of Heavens is suitably distracted. Okay, so I think this is a good time to gather all three of us. So we know that, well, as many as we think would make sense story wise, but we do know that Horizon was tasked to go after his sister. There is, like, just to be like absolutely clear, the demon claims that he was called by someone of the woods, which could very well be Horizon's sister or someone associated with her, not necessarily her. Yeah, and we also know that our golden boy, Sunset Chen, uh, is somehow involved in all of this. We don't know how much just yet, but definitely didn't want to get too involved with Stone of the Heavens. So what would we like to do? Like, where do we see this going next?
I'd love to interact with some of the PCs, so if we wanted like a tavern scene or something, I wouldn't
Ooh,
say no to that. I'm probably gonna go drinking after that.
that does make sense. A
I
tavern's a
can
really good idea.
I can sort of imagine if Horizon hears about this rescue of Stone of the Heavens, like he would seek out the exorcist who rescued his beloved.
Oh gosh. That makes sense. And for Jin, I'm thinking uh maybe yeah, you know what? I'm going to say that Shao actually asked Jin to meet her at this tavern. Would that make sense?
Yeah, we can do that. She wouldn't pass that up.
Yeah, so we'll see what Shao wants. But yeah, so let's describe this tavern. So it is I'm imagining that despite this ongoing war with the demons and the supernatural, there are parts of the city that are like really well off, and so this tavern is like, I think it balances between the two, right? So it's quite large, but it's not super fancy. It's not over the top. So Horizon, you definitely feel like you're slumming it by showing up here. This is nothing like the palace that you're used to. But for everybody else, it's quite nice, you know. So a lot of dark wood. It's quite busy. It's one of those like from what I see in the wuxia films, like they're just really like they're large, but they're not two stories, right? So it's like this like long area where you like walk back and forth. It's all one floor. There's just a small second story for like the VIP section for the really fancy dinners and stuff. But down here, there's a lot of people. There's a lot of wait staff going back and forth. There's a lot of food all over the place. There's a lot of drinking. The place is quite boisterous. The sound is bouncing back and forth on the walls, and it smells really, really good in here. Um, yeah, and so I'm gonna ask each of us to paint the scene a little bit more. So, uh, let's see, Horizon. Who, when you enter this place, um, who do you know you have to stay clear from inside this tavern? Like, who are the possible troublemakers?
Hmm. Um, who are to avoid here? Um, I'm gonna say that Horizon avoids wilting poppy, because I think that, definitely just judging on this sort of creepy looking picture, that I think that the army of the Stonehearts does not approve of wilting poppy's methods of exorcism, and as such, they kind of try to ignore that happens and have no social contact whatsoever.
Yeah, I like that. I like the idea like wilting poppy is with like 2 to 3 other like really creepy looking types. Like they're all just like there with their strange concoctions and drinks and weird looking food. It's probably delicious, let's be honest, but it's weird looking. Yeah, I like that idea. Okay, and so 1010, when you come in, who is it here that has a soft spot for you? Like is always willing to put you on a tab and not ask you to pay for anything?
There is this, you know what, I'm just gonna go with the hooker with a heart of gold stereotype. So yeah, like there's an older barmaid who like, you know what, actually owns the place. And basically, I did a favor for her once a long time ago, and she, ever since then, she does the whole "you're too skinny" thing, and that's what it comes down to. Is just like you need to eat here, and then just gives me lots of food, and then I have to try to like convince people to give me alcohol too.
Yeah, I like the idea that she was like a really popular favorite concubine for several important, people back in her day, right, when she was at the height of her social powers. Maybe you helped her by exercising like one of her exes. Like, so so she really, really likes you. So when she sees you, 1010, oh, look at this handsome face, that these hips, like she's placing her hands like, okay, we're gonna feed you. Don't worry, just take the usual seat. Oh, but honey, I heard that Horizon is on the way here to see you. So chin up, try to act like yeah, yeah, good, good. Yes, that's it, darling. Perfect, perfect. Wait. And then she goes through her robes and then she digs into her bosom to like pull out this perfume. It's like perfect, perfect. And she like sprays it all over you. Okay. Good enough for a king, for the emperor himself. Absolutely. And then she scuttles off to get you. She's gonna get you way too much food as usual. But yeah, and so as that's happening, Jin, what is it about this place that tells you that ghosts like to hang out here every so often?
Oh, I think it's that there's like animals kind of in like through the windows and the doorways. There's always animals like looking into the room, almost unnaturally so. Like a door will swing open and there'll just be a fox kind of in the woods with its like eyes glowing at it, and then it shuts, and like the curtains kind of flutter and there's like an owl perched on the windowsill, and then it flutters again and the owl's gone.
Oh yeah, I like that. That's so good. Yeah, and so and Jin, as you enter, you can see that there's one ghost that no one else can see. It's been here for a long time. Um and it looks like so they're just sort of hanging off of the beams in the rafters, and their bodies in like weird contortions. But as you come in, their head spins around and they flash their teeth. Jin, little girl, how are you doing?
And kind of like, I'm guessing this is like a benevolent spirit or like not a harmful one.
Yeah,
She's
he's
kind
just
of,
there to like get drunk off of everybody's aura. So
oh yeah, same reason everyone else is here. Jin just kind of gives a very like calm nod and is like, I hope you are doing well. It's a busy night. You should be able to drink up and be merry.
Oh yes, and I'm so sorry. about what happened with Sunset Shen earlier. We all heard about it. He says, like he looks very like sad for you.
News seems to travel quite quickly up there. No worry, I've already forgotten about it. And you can tell like she obviously hasn't.
And there's this chittering sound. There are these like trio of like ghosts, the gossiping ghosts, like on the other side of the rafters, hiding behind their like long sleeves as they skitter off and disappear into the ether. But yeah, so the three of you are there. We cut back to Ten, who has this huge array of food in front of them, just way too much, all steaming. Oh, I'm getting so, my gosh, it's almost lunch. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but like, I love Chinese food. So, but yeah, so there's a lot of it. It's very good. I can't resist. They're like dumplings, and then it's like open and steaming. Okay, we're going to stop there. So, so Horizon, you see Ten about to like dig in, and I'll let the two of you go at it, and then we'll see how we can get Jin into the picture in a bit.
Yeah, I think Horizon walks in and kind of like does this sort of like snobby look around the place. Like this is, yeah, not quite up to his standard, but he sees Ten there and like makes a leisurely beeline in that direction. Can't be seen to be walking too fast because it's not a thing. And he kind of stops and stands at the table, doesn't sit down, and looks down and says, "It's a lot of food you have for one person."
Ten has just taken like half of an egg roll into his mouth and bitten down and is chewing and looks up at you, and then just like the color just drains from his already pale face. And you see like this really awkward like there's like he like grabs like a napkin or a towel or something and just like very quickly clears his mouth and says, Your Excellency, yes, the staff here is very accommodating."
Horizon sits down across and like laughs a little. It's like, "I think at this point you can probably stop calling me Your Excellency. I've heard that you have done me a great favor."
Have I, your Horizonness?
Word has spread that there was a particularly exciting exorcism that was done at the Palace of the Golden Dawn Temple.
Yes. It was indeed one of my finest hours. I showed up that gaudy songbird glory song at her own game.
And in doing so, you rescued someone who means quite a lot to me.
Oh, you mean his lordship Stone of the Heavens? I was unaware the two of you knew each other.
Yes, Stone is someone I care about very much, and because of what you've done, well, I get to see him much longer than I would have otherwise.
Indeed, yes. It was most unfortunate, and I would not have assumed that someone of his stature would have been possessed by such a cunning demon as what was eventually expelled from him.
A cunning demon?
Yes, and then like immediately sees a chance not to talk about Stone of the Heavens and like leans in and is like, yes, in fact, it was most unlike many other exorcisms that I've performed. It did something very strange, and it mentioned a lady of the woods whom had called it to this land. Generally, they're not called by ladies, at least in my expertise.
And I think Horizon kind of like perks, like it starts at like the mention of the woods and just leans in further, closer, like and awkwardly closer, and is like, did it say anything more about this lady of the woods? I believe I may know someone of that name.
And then like Ten is about to like animatedly respond and then realizes that you're like only a couple of inches away, and then like all of the color that faded out like immediately returns to his face.
Horizon is just like, was that a spicy dumpling that you just ate?
Yes. And like turns away and then just like chugs like a bottle of like white liquor. Like, and probably should have stopped like drinking, but then like keeps going because like sees you looking and like looks away, looks back, looks away, looks back, and then finally like sits up and it's like, yes, a lady of the woods. It didn't say much more because we don't generally chat with the demons. We just like to send them back to hell. It's kind of how we pay the bills.
Horizon will like reach over and like grab one of the dumplings and start eating it delicately and say, well, if you do find any more information about this Lady of the Woods or any particular demons, please come visit me at the fancy name for where I live that I can't think of on the spot.
Oh yeah, probably something like Thousand Cloud Palace, blah blah blah. So
Yeah,
we'll figure it out.
the headquarters of the army of the Stonehearts. You may be of great service to me and my father.
The flush that was in his face just goes like rosy real quick, and you can't tell if it's the alcohol or if it's the fact that you just invited him home. And he just kind of like, he says like, of course, and then like tips over and then just like passes out.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much.
Just Horizon just like waves his hand in the air. It's like, excuse me, can anyone deal with this person?
And I think Jin at this moment, because like I'm reviewing the entanglements, you actually know both of them. In fact, you know Horizon a little better if you're there to tell him how he has caused great distress to Stone of the Heavens. Do you think this would be a moment when you cut in to check in on everybody, or do you want to keep your distance first?
I think this would be a good moment because, yeah, like Tempest is my cousin. But yeah, I also know Horizon somehow, and I can't pass up an opportunity to like tell Horizon, how he's gonna like ruin this for Stone. Yeah, I think like if anything, Jin was at like another table, already ordered 2 drinks for her and Chow, and is kind of like trying to pose in the most flattering way possible for when Chow walks in, and is like practicing different poses. And then hears a thunk and like does a over the shoulder look and sees that it's Horizon and Tempest, and it's like, God damn it, what now? And we'll like kind of get up and walk over to Horizon and say like, Horizon, Your Eminence, how wonderful to meet you here in this lovely abode. What is it that you appear to have done now?
It's not anything that I did, and I question your use of the word lovely if the spirits here are strong enough to gestures at 10-10 on the ground.
And like Jin kind of just crooks a single eyebrow at like nothing I did. And it's like, well, yes, the spirits here can be quite potent. And she'll look at the gossiping spirits up in the corner and kind of like give them a death glare to scatter away. Yes, I don't know my cousin very well, but apparently he cannot hold his liquor. An unfortunate quality in our family.
that's the case, should you be here alone with 2 drinks?
Oh, I'm meeting someone, as this is a good place to meet an individual, as you seem to have. Do you need assistance bringing Tempest to his room? I don't want to, be presumptuous or anything, but if you require a hand.
I would not want you to miss your meeting.
It is, a rather important meeting, but I made sure to be early. It's not for another 45 minutes. And like she's probably already been here 20 minutes practice posing and stuff. I do have time. I should get Tempest some water, try and rouse him.
Yes, a good jolt of water to the face should do the trick. I'm sure this particular exorcist, maybe that's not a rare occurrence for him.
I would prefer plum wine. And like Tempest just like sits back up and is like totally fine.
You are awake.
Indeed, yes. Hi, cousin. When did you get here?
Greetings, Tempest. I just arrived. I haven't been waiting or anything. You're looking well. Colors coming back to your cheeks.
Yes. Exercising takes a lot out of a person, but my strength is returning as we speak. And he just like starts to like pick at the food again, and then like eat it as if that's what's giving him like more life, as opposed to the fact that he wants to keep you from saying something embarrassing about him.
I think at that moment, Jin, you notice that even though it's quite early, it's still not another 45 minutes. Chow walks through the doors. But Jin, what is different about Chow that has you worried?
I think like she always had a hairpin that she got from it was just a cherished gift from her mother that always wore no matter what she was doing. And in this now, it's not there, and her hair is kind of falling in her face a little bit because of it.
Right. I like that a lot. And so as her hair falls, you also notice this is very classic anime wuxia. Her lipstick is of a darker red color, and she has more of an eye going on, darker eyes, as she comes closer, and she smiles at you in a way that you've never seen her do, Jin. She walks right up to you, ignoring the other two, and she puts her lips right next to your ear in front of everybody. And she says, Jin, thank you so much for waiting for me. Shall we go somewhere more private?
And at that point, when she walks up to Jin, ignoring everyone, Jin ignores everyone else too, and is just kind of entranced by it. And she's without meaning to, she's like, I would always wait for you. I mean, yes, somewhere more private would be most prudent. You wanted to talk about something.
1010, you sense something is off about her. I'd like you to make a study look. And roll with advantage because of your background.
Okay, right. So, I had a quick question before I do that.
Sure.
When I missed that other roll for, am I supposed to be checking off my elements or something if I miss rolls, or is that only combat?
It's only if it makes sense. But let me check. Oh, is it inner torma? Do we have to check it if it's inner torma? Let me double check. On a miss, no, it's okay. Yeah. It's like the version of harm. I haven't been doling out the harm just yet. But I'll let you know when you should mark. But yeah, but thank you for bringing that up. That's very cool.
Cool. Yeah, I have played this once before, but it was a while ago, so I didn't recall. And I've missed enough that I was like, oh, do I have elements? I don't know.
I know. I think it's because I'm playing Changeling, which has a similar thing, and like my poor Changeling cannot get through a session without marking off 4. So I guess I'm just being unconsciously nice right now because I'm like, it's nice to have more stuff. But yeah, once we start ramping things up, we will start marking elements for sure.
Yeah, I think that this is definitely me rolling with metal for control and reflection. And in fact, to mimic this, I actually think that I look down at Chow's reflection in my drink to see what I see there.
Very cool.
It's a 5.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay, mark the XP. We are leveling up. Anyway, I'm going to say what happens is as you look, because you were looking into a mug, right? Like at the reflection. As you look at it, there's this horrifying moment where you realize the reflection is not matching up to the face. Like you can tell that the head moves to look straight at you, and the mug cracks, and wine spills everywhere. And as that happens, Chow, there's like this, once again, flurry of fabric, there's like a slow motion moment, and Jin and Chow are suddenly not there. And it's just the two of you. And so as that happens, Jin, you suddenly find yourself in a private room upstairs, but you can't remember, you were just standing next to Tenten and Horizon a moment ago, but they didn't really matter. There was just Chow. But now it's you and Chow alone in this room. There's incense that's lit. It smells very good. It's very warm in here. It's very comfortable. And Chow is there with you. And Chow says, Jin, I realize I've been wrong about a lot of things, and I would like to make them right, she says, as she moves very, very close, like, gulp close. What do you do?
Yeah, and like normally, Jin has like experience with the supernatural and stuff, and this just kind of, it all goes out the window. And she's kind of, again, without stopping herself, it's like, oh, you could never do anything wrong. And I think like kind of as she moves closer, Jin would like kind of also move closer and almost unintentionally like just lean forward into her, and like is just oblivious to everything else going on, and it's like, what is it that you want to make right?
And so I think this is something the audience sees, but Jin not quite yet, where as she moves closer, her robes start to slip a little towards the back, and we see her skin, her back start to open up just a little bit. And then there's a snake that starts to push itself out of her body. And the snake is opening its mouth and talking, but it's coming out of Chow's voice, Chow's face, as she says, I was hoping that you could help me with something. You see, I realize I've been so lonely, and I don't think Sunset Chen is the man I've needed. I think perhaps I need a woman instead, she says. And her lips start coming closer, and we cut back, and Tenten, something is up. Like, Jin is not here. There's the cracked mug. As you take a closer look at the liquid, someone was trying to clean it up, and they pull their hand away like, ow, and it's actually like burning up. It's eating through the wood, and something is horribly wrong. And Horizon, you can sense that Tenten is also like, you look at what Tenten is looking at, and you can see what's up. So what did the two of you do?
I think Horizon like has grabbed his weapon that's been like strapped to his back and pulled it out, or just like held it in front and says, where did they go? What happened?
I don't know where they've gone, but we must find them immediately. My cousin is in danger. It looks like the work of an evil spirit.
This is your specialty. Can you find them?
And yeah, so I think I say, I need a little bit more quiet. I need to be able to hear properly. And so I think that without thinking, I think that I like reach across and like grab Horizon's hand and I say, quickly, come with me, and like pull them towards like like a hallway into like one of the quieter spaces of
Horizon lets himself be pulled.
So we sneak into like a quieter hallway in the like the inn and find maybe a small meeting room or something with only like a couple candles lit, and like now would be a time, I suppose, to seek out a bane.
Absolutely. I was like looking at it. Yeah, makes sense. All right. So when you seek out a bane by study, practice, or consultation, roll. What are you going to be rolling with?
I think that this time it makes sense that if it's fire, because I'm being a little reckless this time, and because I'm worried about my cousin. I had a moment where I could have had the upper hand, and now have the lower hand. So,
is there something that Horizon can do to like support?
Is there like
Tenten?
help roll?
Comfort and support?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know.
Yeah. You can use it in a scene. You may use this to aid someone before or after a roll.
Okay.
For this, either you or they may burn a bond just created to add +1 to the roll.
Yeah.
So meaning you comfort or support first. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I think that like Horizon is just gonna like. I guess I should ask what it looks like when Tempest is doing this discovering a bane first to figure out what it is Horizon can do.
So I'm really enamored with the idea that like all my powers are kind of like musical, and so I think that it's the same thing that we saw before. Like I swing the meteor hammers around, and suddenly there's like almost like a little web that like just fills the room. And what I do is I'm just like I pluck on a string and I listen to the note that it happens, and then I pluck on another one. And so there's just these kind of like echoes that are like they almost permeate through the inn, and it seems like everyone else gets quiet, and it's just the sound of the strings that I'm plucking.
Would it be comforting / supporting if Horizon just like looked at you with awe the entire time?
Yeah.
Or would that just not help you up at all?
I mean, no, because I want to make it more trash. So
okay.
So what it is I think that there's like a point where like 10, because 10's short, and so like 10 reaches up and like goes to pluck a string, but it's like no sound happens, and you look up and it's because it's like out of reach.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you just like appeared behind him and reached up and plucked the string for him.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So good.
So one of us, you should roll first, and then I'll roll to assist, or should I roll first?
You roll first to see to burn the bond.
Mm-hmm. That's 2d6, right? Do I need to pick a thing, an element?
Yeah. Just say like how you're helping. Like, are you being cautious? Are you being focused? Like,
I guess it's with. I'm gonna roll with wood, which is my least good one. It's a -1, but I think it's because I'm like observing this with like curiosity.
I like that. That's cool.
So we'll see what this does. It might not work. Okay, so it's 7. -1 is 6.
Oh my gosh. Can I say okay, first mark XP.
Okay. Joining the club.
Yeah. I'm gonna say, so my question for you is, how does Tenten look so beautiful to you in this moment?
Oh, they're so like confident right now, and that just ticks all the boxes for Horizon. Competency.
Absolutely. I think I think this is actually going to merit marking the box, only because I'm going to say, like, it's kind of, you find yourself distracted by Tenten. The two of you so close. There's something definitely going on. So you can go ahead and mark, I think, yeah. Is that, yeah, mark the checkbox. I just wanted to make sure it could work.
Do I like pluck the wrong string? Oh no, I just don't help.
Yeah,
Very well.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I think it's yeah, I mean, we're not able to get a bond, like you're still able to pluck the string and everything, but I think it's more like, instead of you helping him, you're distracted by him. And I think, just to really make it a miss, Tenten doesn't notice. It's one of those like oblivious moments where they don't realize how beautiful they are and how it's affecting the other person. So, but Tenten, go ahead and roll. Let's see if you're able to uncover this vein.
It's an 11.
Nice. Okay, very good. So on an 11, let's see. On 10 plus, you discover a bane. It doesn't claim another victim in the meantime. Good job, good job. Okay. Let's see. I'm just making sure. Yeah. So you realize, you can hear it. It's this slithering sound. And it's a sound of skin rubbing against skin and shifting and peeling away. And you realize that there is, now, most snake demons are actually not violent. For the most part, they try to keep to themselves. They're very solitary. But there are those who are decidedly more vicious, and they enjoy borrowing the skin of someone else. But you also know for a fact that in order for them to borrow that skin, that person would have had to be hurt in some fashion, either emotionally or physically in some way, had to be hurt in order for them to like gain that skin in a moment of weakness. So you sense and hear that slithering snake sound. You can tell exactly where it is. It's kind of like Assassin's Creed, where everything turns into this one color and you can see the room where the two of them are at. And through your vision, as you're connected, you can see this large snake that's wrapping its coils around Jin. And you can see that there's this fragment that's hanging in the middle of the coils that you recognize is probably a part of Chao that it's using in order to wear her skin. So you have a very, I think also with that, I think with that, because it doesn't claim another victim, I'm going to give you like a very clear idea of how to get rid of it. The snake demons, they're usually not very good in combat, like, because they depend on being able to just wear someone else's skin and do it that way. But they're very good at social combat, I will say that. But if you come in like with all of this violent force, it's going to scare it away, basically. So what do you do?
I think that once I like realized that, like with a quick like yank, all of the ribbons just come undone, and then like the hammers are back in my palms, and I like whip around and tell Horizon that's like it's a snake demon. We've got to scare it away. It'll run if we scare it. So can you do anything big, fancy? Boom.
I have trained to fight. I can fight.
Great. So we need to smash a door. So if you could also maybe pay for that later, that would be great. But let's go.
I will do the door smashing. If I do it, we don't have to pay for it.
Oh,
what a world.
Privilege. Okay, so on that note of privilege, let's go ahead and take our last break for the game. And then my plan is to cut back to Jin, so Jin can have one more moment with our quotation mark Chao before all the crashing in begins. But let's take our 5-minute break first. All right, see you in 5 minutes. All right, so we're back from our break, and we're gonna see our girl Jin with our snake demon. So Jin, I'm going to so I'll go ahead and describe it. Like, Chao's incredibly close, and she said what she said, and Chao says, Jin, I think it's only you that can save me from this fate I've cruelly created for myself. Do you have it in your heart to do what you can to help me?
And like Jin's just completely enraptured and is probably ignoring like snake tails like moving around behind her, super obvious to everyone. And she's just like, I mean, I would always help you. Kind of trying to like compose herself a little bit. It's my duty as a bottled spirit to help people, of course. What can I do for you? Like, tell me anything and I'll do it.
Oh, that's exactly why I came to you. You're really special. Do you think you could lend me a little bit of your strength, of your essence, just to get through the hard times?
And kind of like super red flag there, since that's like not something she's ever asked for. Jin, yes. And she's like, you don't even have to ask. It's already yours for the taking.
And I think at that, it's going to be like, let me just double check headlines and veils. Okay. And so it's one of those like weird wuxia moments where suddenly, like, even though the clothes look really complicated, she's showing a lot of shoulder all of a sudden. And we know what she's insinuating. And she comes closer and she says, yes, Jin, it's all I've ever wanted to be with you in a way that only our bodies would know how to be together.
Yeah, and Jin is like all here for that. She's just kind of like, it's as if you've heard my dreams at night and listened to my prayers. Is this real?
Oh yes, it's as real as we can make it, she says. And I think at that exact moment, that's when we hear, well, it's wuxia, so we don't necessarily have to hear you thundering down the hall. You can be doing that weird wuxia thing of like floating across the floor, being very cool. But what does it look like, Horizon, when you do this favor that Tenten asked of you? Like,
yeah, I think as we're like running down the hallway, there's like the door in front, and it's like a perfectly timed like Horizon jumps, and he just like uses his feet to slam the door open. It's like physics, I don't know how they work. He's like horizontal as he slams like foot first into this room with like a swirl of his robes and sleeves, and then he like lands on his feet and is just like in a fighting position. Just like, stand back. Doesn't really know what he's about to face, except for there's a snake demon, but I don't know if he knows what that really looks like.
Right. And I think like, so that the door explodes open and Horizon stands there looking incredibly sure of himself. And I think at this point, Jin childlike lets out this like, oh no kind of voice and throws herself at you. Jin, what's going on? Protect me.
And Jin's probably like still completely enraptured and like tries to emulate what Sunset Chen did at the market, and like in her best but terrible, heroic pose, like pushes herself in front of Chow and is like, now what are you doing, Horizon? Haven't you done enough?
I haven't done anything. And Horizon like looks over at Tenten and is like, your cousin seems to think that something terrible is happening. We just saw you disappear. That person in your arm behind you might not be who you think they are.
It's definitely not who you think it is. It's in fact, it's a snake demon who is holding something of the person that you think it is, and they're trying to. What exactly is going on here?
And I think at this point, Shao turns to you, Jin, and says, "No, don't you see? They're just trying to come between us. Jin, please. I, I just want to be with you."
And Jin's like, I just want to be with you too. I don't know what Horizon has in his mind. Like, in her mind, like, it's all Horizon's fault. I don't know, like, I don't know why Tempest is, in with him. It makes no sense, but, I'm only here for you, but what did they mean?
Horizon is going to step forward and point his wave at a Chow or the Chow demon, and I think he's gonna try it and say step aside. I won't hurt you. We can figure this out. If you are a snake demon, we'll deal with that. But step away from Jin. And I think I have to, if I say that, to probably use Hearts and Minds.
Ooh, yeah, we could do that. Hearts and Minds. Yeah, sounds like a good idea. Definitely. Yeah, so let me read it out. When you pressure someone susceptible to your words, and we do know the two of you have a close relationship, say what you're trying to get them to do and roll. So there's a different section for PCs versus NPCs. Mm-hmm.
So I was imagining I was doing this to Chow, but I guess I could try and convince Jin too.
Yeah, I will just. Yeah, because I will just say like Chow as a snake demon's very good at social combat versus plain old combat. Just
yeah. So I'll try and convince Jin. Be like, why don't you just take a few steps back? And I am going to do this with presence. I am using my commanding presence to do this. Let's see. That's a 12 without my +1. So
nice. Oh my gosh. Okay, so on a 12, on a hit for PCs, if they may, I feel like the wording should be a bit.
Yeah.
I think they may. Let me remove the if. Yeah, there you go. They may mark XP if they do as you ask. If they don't, they mark an element. They may burn a bond to avoid marking the element. Yeah. So, Jen, what are you going to do? Like basically, Horizon's asking you to step away. Is that right? Like,
okay. Just make there be more space between you. Like, please go that way. So if we do anything, like attack, you won't be in the way.
Ooh. I, as a player, want to move, but I think Jin's probably trying to stay as strong as possible. I think if anything, she's starting to waver a bit. Just kind of more confused. There's kind of some inner conflict of she's hearing what people are saying now. It's kind of getting through whatever influence is going on, but she's still standing in front of Chow.
Oh, okay. So I think we'll roll into an inner turmoil after this, but do you want to mark an element or burn a bond to avoid marking an element?
I don't have a bond with Horizon, so I will.
Oh, though to be fair, you can use any bond.
Burn
right?
anything.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. It's an interesting mechanic, and then you can just say oh, because one time with 1010 this happened, or oh, because with Sunset Shen. If you want to justify it, you can.
Okay. I think I'm gonna mark an element. Fire seems appropriate, just because she is not thinking with her head right now. She's being old-fashioned.
Yeah, makes sense. I like it. All right, so you're standing strong, and you feel like Jin just relax into you, like really, like she feels. I mean, you feel Chow. Chow feels strongly protected in this moment, and I think this is an inner perfect time to do an inner turmoil as you see Horizon and Tenten like glaring at Chow for some reason. So you can use any element except your style elements for inner turmoil. And once again, you mark XP already just from having to do it.
Okay. Oh, just from doing the inner conflict.
Yeah. So anytime we inner
Style.
conflict, like it's just mark XP immediately.
Okay. So I have that marked. And I think I'll do wood, just like a flat roll with curiosity, because I think like the impassioned like speech Horizon gave her, like she's on the verge of like second guessing herself. And I got a 7 with that.
Okay, nice. So on a 7, let's see. You must either flee the scene or mark an element, your choice.
I think we could do like flee the scene in the sense of she does move away, kind of realizing like something's not right here, to like the side of the room, and then is kind of out of the scene essentially.
Right. And don't feel like you're like dropped completely out of the scene entirely. But like just for now.
Yeah. I kind of like the idea of like as she leans into me and is like wrapping herself around me, kind of like Jin runs her hands through her hair as like a reassuring thing, and it comes back with snake scales on her fingers, and that kind of causes her to like in
Pull
a very
back,
wuxia way, like pull back, and like she's separated herself from them and is across the room.
Yeah, like this over dramatic pullback that with a lot of turns. So
Yep.
I like it. Perfect. Oh no, this chat. What kind of weird snake shampoo have you been using? So okay. Focus. You can do it, Jamie. So you twirl around and you're there, and then that's when Chow turns to look at Jin, realizing that she's rapidly losing control of the situation. This is the perfect time to go after our snake lady. So how would we like to do it? I think it would make sense, Tenten, if you want to jump in and do it, or do you want to give Horizon the opportunity?
I will happily be Horizon's backup on this, and including up to like doing a comfort and support.
Nice. Yeah, I think is what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into a duel because you're definitely on the same scale, combat-wise. Yeah, I'm gonna have to talk to Lo about this because anyway, but combat-wise, you're on the same scale. So let's have you comfort and support if Horizon is cool with doing a duel right after to see how this fight goes.
Sure.
Okay, cool. All right, let's do our comfort and support.
I think that the way that I do this is I think that as Horizon is standing there looking all tall and imperious, and like the wind is like fluttering their hair and robes, like Tempest does like the like anime ninja thing where he just kind of like darts forward, and then like with like a really quick like snap of the wrist, like suddenly the snake lady's like caught like an arm here and like an ankle there, and then he just kind of like jumps back to like the side of the thing and is like and like looks at Horizon and is like, you got this. Even more anime.
Perfect.
So, and then that's going to be with metal because it's very controlled and calculating. So, and that's a 9.
Ooh, okay, which is good. So on a 9, let me see. I'm just double checking. On a hit, they accept your words. They can clear a check element or gain a bond with you. Okay, and then we're doing the comfort and support. So the bond is created, immediately gives a +1 to the roll. Perfect. All right, so let's see how the duel goes. So Horizon, how does it look like when you ready your weapon to attack? Our poor innocent snake lady demon.
Yeah. So as an alchemist, I have a role where it says when you duel someone of your scale, you may inflame one of their elements. Say what you wish to target and roll. Um, and I think we're reading that as in like I don't know how this works with like an NPC, but I assume they have the same elements as us. And if I inflame one, I make them act with that element or behave a little bit.
Yeah, I have to double check.
Mhm.
I will reread. But as far as I know, they don't have elements. So, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say you have advantage on the roll,
Okay.
just to translate it, because
Okay. So I guess I will roll to see if I can
But
do
how do you
that.
inflame them? Like, what do you say? Like, how do you throw them off? Like, is it through your words or is it through your actions?
I think it's kind of like through my actions. Like I'm not backing down from this, and I am like advancing somewhat menacingly. I think while holding this like long well, not pole axe, but like a long glaive and point. It's kind of it's long. It's got a sharp blade at the end, and they're like flames running up the pole of it. And I think that maybe by some magic of Wuxia TV, the flames are actually like starting to light a little bit. Like maybe it's a trick of the light, maybe it's actual magic, we don't know. And it's like I do mean to hit if the snake demon doesn't respond. And I think trying to intimidate them into acting
Yeah.
less rationally.
Ooh, I get it. So that would be like if we were gonna call an element,
Mm-hmm.
would it be wood or like do you want them to be overconfident,
I think,
reckless?
yeah, reckless,
Nice,
probably.
nice. Cool, cool, cool. Very cool.
So roll. That's a 8.
Okay, so let's take apart this move. All right. Of the scale, and on a 10 plus, on a 7 to 9. Okay, so basically you still win. Okay, here we go. On a 7 to 9, choose one. Win at a cost, narrate your loss, or deadlock. Which one would you like to choose? There's a little extra to that too
Mm-hmm.
for choice.
I will win at a cost.
Ooh, nice. Oh, I want to double check. Did you roll with 3 dice just in case?
Oh no, I rolled with 2.
Yeah. Just because just to show that element thing. So just in case you
Should I
get a
roll
higher.
again? Okay.
Yeah, you can just roll one more die and add it. That's
all
fine.
right.
Let's not lose a 6.
It's a 4 and a
Oh.
6, so it's 10.
Oh, nice, even higher. Okay. So we're gonna look at the 10 instead. On a 10 plus,
Okay.
you win the conflict and may mark XP if you show mercy or let them escape. You may declare a shift in the fiction, a change of heart, impress someone, shift in entanglement. Ooh. Are you going to let them escape though?
I think I'm going to show mercy and not kill them.
Okay, right. So like bind them basically.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to I'm probably going to pin them somehow. Probably do like take like the pole of the glaive and like pull them up against the wall with it.
Yeah, and I think at that moment, that's when their skin completely just it's this moment. I'm just gonna steal it wholesale from Painted Skin, where like it's loose around the edges of her face for a moment, and then it just falls forward, and her skin just completely peels off, and we see the snake coils and the snake scales underneath those huge glowing snake eyes, and she's making these horrible sounds, and you can tell she's just it's this sense of like shame and embarrassment from being shown to be who she really is underneath it. And yeah, so what do you do?
I think I like step back and say, "Oh, Tenten, you were right."
I usually am.
So what do we do with this demon?
And I think that that's the point where it's like, now it's time for me to get down to business. And yeah, go in for the exorcism.
Okay. So, but did you go ahead and mark your XP horizon from showing a little bit of mercy by not killing them outright? Yeah. Okay. And then go ahead. Let's see what the exorcism looks like.
So yeah, I think that it's you know, 1010 tries to pull some of the same tricks he did the last time, like binding it up. But I think that what's happens is like the snake like uncoils and like loosens itself every time like a rope gets around it. And then like eventually it's one of those things where I think he like 1010 actually like really quickly just like lunges forward and like wraps a hand around like the head of the like the head of the snake right under the neck of the snake right under its head, and then just starts to like try to sing the song of the silver choir. Like so yeah, it's like the sound of bells and words spoken in a crystalline tongue that mortal ears cannot perceive. And yeah, it's like there's a bright shining light, and this is definitely fire as opposed to metal because it's very like passionate. And that's an 11.
Amazing. All right. So on a 10 plus, you do so forcing the spirit away for a time. You may ask one question about the spirit. If you like, I'm willing to let you like bind the spirit if you want to, since that was Horizon's intention. Or if you just want to pure push them out of the space, that's also okay.
I like the idea that like so and feel free to like veto this if it makes it sound a little too powerful. I like the idea because it's like you can create a barrier, and what if I just wrap it up in a barrier and collapse it down until it's like a little snake amulet, like if you've seen the Never Ending Story, like the Aran.
No,
And
I
yeah,
like that. I like that.
so yeah, I would prefer to like bind it up so that like you know I could present it to Horizon. It's like, is this what you wanted? Yeah, so there's this like almost like a weaving kind of thing as like you see like fabric and silk and snake skin and like the knitting of hands, and then you see like the snake skin's kind of like the scales kind of like picking off as like it turns to metal, and eventually it's like he Ten Tempest like falls to the ground and like lands on one knee right in front of Horizon, and the medallion is just like sitting at his feet. And Tempest looks up and says, basically, it's like uh, as you have wished, my lord. And I do get to ask a question of the spirit. So, like, I think I want to ask, like, did we establish like where it got that piece of chow? So yeah.
Yeah. So you want to know more about what that piece is, how they got it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Like, and I think what happens actually as you bind it, Jin, from your perspective, as this is happening, it's also quick, but you can see this moment, like it's just pouring out of the demon. What do you feel is Chao's most precious memory of you, Jin?
Um, her most precious memory of me is probably like before I was like, I kind of imagine before she was cursed, she was very like fun and like outgoing and laughing and stuff. And now after curse, she's very serious and dour and controlled. So it's just kind of like a memory of us at like a fair or a bazaar as like people are playing music and we're just kind of twirling around dancing and just laughing and that, you know, stereotypical, like, we're spinning around and the camera's showing one person's face and then showing the other person's face, and there's just pure joy on both of our faces.
Yeah, I really like that, and I think, and you remember that memory. You have that too, but as it comes off in waves, you get the sense that the memory continues into what you weren't aware of yourself, and there's a moment where you walk away, Jin, and Zhao's just watching you smiling from a distance, and let me see, pulling up the NPC's name again. And Sunset Chen walks up to Chao and says, "So, when are you going to make it official between the two of you?" And Chao says, I'm just waiting for the right time. I'll tell her how I feel one day when it's perfect." And Sunset turns and smiles at her and says, "And I'll help you with that when you're ready." And the memory fades. And so, Tenten, I think you see this memory play out entirely. And you realize that the reason why this disguise was so strong and so perfect, that it fooled Jin for so long, is because she had to have taken like the most precious memory, but it means it was removed entirely. And so that means that Chao no longer has this memory at all within her. But you also know that humans are not meant to have their memories messed with by demons, so it's usually a bad sign. Chao would have had to have been in a really weakened state in order for the snake lady demon to be able to do this. And you do know for a fact that snake demons like to work with other demons in order to get what they need. So there is that. But yeah, and I think this is a good point to end the session today. Like, we'll go into our end of session stuff. Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay, cool. Let me double check if there is an end of session thing, because I always forget. Start a session. Okay, I don't think we have an end of session thing unless, yeah. Oh, I forgot to use my soft move. Let's end on the soft move for Tenten. So, like, I think the camera pans upwards, and we see, checking safety tools again. 1 second. Just making sure. Yeah, okay, we don't have a problem with spiders. Okay, and then we see that there's this, it looks like a woman just sitting on the edge of the roof, listening in. She has this very wide smile on her face. But then as she rolls her shoulders, more arms start to extend. And so we see that she has several of these arms, and she takes on a more spider-like position as we realize what we thought was hair was all this webbing, dark webbing coming down her face. And she smiles and says, "Oh, Tenten, soon, very soon, we'll drag you back home where you belong with the rest of us, my dear." And yeah, so that's definitely where we're going to end the session. Okay, so on that note, I think we are going to go into our Stars of Wishes, which we'll do off the recording. But everybody who's watching, thank you so much. I really liked where this session went. It was so good. Really good time. So thank you for watching, everybody, or listening, and we'll see you next time. Okay.